Now, the deep state's plan, it is completely falling apart. Yes, the mainstream media, the deep state, corrupt politicians, they're still pushing fear, chaos, panic. But as we know, once the cure is put out there and the FDA says, yes, this is it really works, they know that the fear, the panic, the chaos completely disappears. And remember, Trump mentioned this in March, and the mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, the deep state players, they attacked him. And they kept pushing their agenda. Vaccines, removing the rights of the people, saying that you need papers to go to work to make sure that you have a vaccine. Trump, he knew this was part of their playbook. He understood that he needed to mention hydroxychloroquine. He knew that this is a cure not just for the coronavirus. I do believe that this is a cure for many other things. And Trump, Q, they've been actually projecting out there that, yes, it is. Now, we're going to be talking all about this a little bit later in this report. But we need to understand that what's coming now, and they've been dripping it out, the FISA, the spying. And I know Q told us that the first indictment is going to send a shockwave. And we need to think about who this indictment is going to be against. Because is it going to be against Comey? Is that really going to send a shockwave? Is it going to be Strzok? Is that really going to send a shockwave? Soros might send a shockwave, but do a lot of the American people know who he is? Maybe, maybe not. Actually, if Obama was the first indictment, yes, I do believe that would send a shockwave. We'll be getting into all that in a little bit. But let's start to look at these drips here. Now, the Senate Judiciary Committee just released a bunch of documents, some of which on the original 2018 congressional request for declassification. The documents are very interesting. Actually, a lot of them are explosive. Now, Undercover Huber, he really dug into this. And actually, it's very interesting. And this is Undercover Huber's Twitter feed. So here's the thread. And it says, Chairman at Lindsey Graham releases key materials related to FISA abuse investigation. Declassified Department of Justice materials. Here's George Papadopoulos denying any involvement in the DNC hacks to Stefan Halper. Here's Stefan Halper bragging about his connections to Russian intelligence, Trubnikov, likely misspelt by the FBI transcribers, which really inspires confidence in the CIA shop. Here's the entirety of the justification for opening Crossfire Hurricane. From more declassified FISA warrants application, some kind of suggestion. It was unclear whether George Papadopoulos or the Russians were referring to material acquired publicly or through other means. And here's the FBI being incredibly misleading to the FISC about the Steele's so-called primary subsource. Told the FBI when they interviewed him, he actually disavowed a lot of the dossier, couldn't explain the sourcing, and denying having a network of subsources. By the way, source descriptive is where it says this key primary subsource was Russian-based, which the source apparently wasn't. Source number 1, Steele, reported the information contained herein the FISA warrant application to the FBI over the course of several meetings with the FBI from June 2016 to August 2016. I thought the FBI only got the dossier allegations mid-September. In a confidential Rule 13 letter sent to the FISC on July 12, 2018, defending against Devin Nunes' memo, the FBI said they still didn't think Steele was behind the Yahoo News leak to Isikoff, but Yahoo Isikoff had blown Steele as the source on February 2, 2018. The FBI used the truthful and cooperative line to the FISC about the primary subsource. Interviews with the FBI, not a single person interviewed by the IG would back up the statement, as the PSS actually disavowed a lot of the dossier claims. October 2nd, 2019 letter from Lindsey Graham to leaders of Australia, Italy, and the UK. It says, it appears that the United States law enforcement and intelligence community relied on foreign intelligence as part of their efforts to investigate and monitor the 2016 presidential election. The efforts include relying on deeply flawed dossier filled with hearsay and written by a biased former United Kingdom intelligence officer, receiving intelligence from an Italian professor who was directed to contact a low-level Trump campaign advisor, George Papadopoulos, to gather intelligence on the campaign, accepting information from an Australian diplomat who was also directed to contact Papadopoulos and relay information obtained from the Papadopoulos regarding the campaign to the FBI, that the Attorney General is holding meetings with your countries to aid in the Justice Department's investigation of what happened is well within the bounds of his normal activities. He is simply doing his job. Let me continue. In a secret warrant to the FISA court, the FBI Department of Justice accused Carter Page of seeking media attention to sell a book deal. I can't even process this after they turned his life upside down. FBI Department of Justice relied on Person 1, Source E, Sergei Milian, in the FISA applications to claim a well-developed conspiracy of cooperation between Trump and Russia. Now, Brian Cates breaks this down and explains the whole thing. Boom goes the dynamite. Boom goes the cover story. 3.5 years of lies just went up in smoke. If the FBI is getting Steele dossier info in June of 2016, and this says they were. Now let's walk through this. Why? Why was it important to Comey, McCabe, and the Crossfire Hurricane team to lie about when they started getting Steele dossier info? Why they claim they only started getting it in mid-September 2016 instead of 3 months earlier in June? The official story has always been that the FBI followed the book and no actual spying on Trump and his campaign team actually started until they had dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's legally. That I dotting and T crossing was done October 2016. The cover story is that it was brought to the FBI's attention in June 2016 that several Trump campaign people might be Russian agents working with Russia. Supposedly, Carter Page isn't on the radar yet. It all focuses on what Mifsud is saying about Papadopoulos. But remember what we now know. The entire predicate for assuming Russians were reaching out to low-level Trump campaign people like Papadopoulos and Carter Page is because the FBI was sending confidential human sources to them to float Russia rumors and record the conversations. The story is that it was Alexander Downer that contacted the FBI and alerted them to the fact that he had been told by Papadopoulos that Russia was offering to help the Trump campaign win the election. We know this is the offer that Professor Joseph Mifsud made to GP in London. The biggest mystery at the heart of this whole thing that nobody ever talks about or focuses on, how did they make such a radical shift from George Papadopoulos to Mifsud to Carter Page? Where it all goes from it's all about Mifsud's offer to GP to it's all about Carter Page. In June, they have a low-level Trump campaign staffer having a conversation about Russia helping Trump win the election by offering damaging info on Hillary Clinton. That's dynamite, right? You have an actual Russian agent involved, reaching out to the Trump campaign direct. Well, here's the problem, as the latest revelations are showing us. Every single time a CHS like Halper tried to get GP on audio tape discussing this supposed Russian offer from the Russian agent Mifsud, guess what George Papadopoulos does? There are two things the CHSs like Halper and Azra Turk and Downer and every other spy they sent at George Papadopoulos absolutely need him to say. They need him to say accepted the Mifsud offer of Russia help and communicated the Mifsud offer to Trump's campaign. Instead, every single time Halper tries to lead him into incriminating himself and the Trump campaign, what George does is he strongly states he rejected Mifsud's offer. It would be treason, and he didn't take it seriously anyway. You're starting to see why a Crossfire Hurricane counterintelligence operation launched on the basis of framing George Papadopoulos as a Russian agent quickly discovered over a 3-month period that they would have to go to Plan B, which was the Steele dossier stuff they already had. Each time Downer and Halper, or anyone else working as an FBI CHS, tried to get George Papadopoulos, to say he accepted Mifsad's offer, he wouldn't say it. Instead, he made strong exculpatory statements about rejecting the offer. And when asked if he'd pass it on to Trump campaign, he said no. Their entire push didn't work. And when all this declassification is coming out, it's showing how they did this. These are all the drips leading up to FISA equals start. They're in trouble right now. And acting DNI Grinnell, it looks like he's angering Susan Rice and Adam Schiff. Remember, he's getting rid of a lot of people. They see this information coming out. This entire cover-up is going to get all of them. And they're panicking. They're worried. And who signed off on all of this? Who knew all of this was going on? Who knew that the DNC server wasn't hacked by Russia? Who knew that these weren't Russian agents? Who knew all of this? Who signed off on all of this? Well, we have Comey. We have Brennan Clapper, Strzok Page, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Loretta Lynch, all the way up to Obama. They all knew. And so did Clinton. This whole thing is going to come down around them, and they know it. Because this is information that is being dripped out now. All the declassification. It's taking those puzzle pieces that had no connection, and they're all being connected now to form the big picture. So everyone can see it. And they're worried. This is why they're pushing events. This is why they'll continue to try to stop what is coming. Because they know if Trump is reelected, that's it for them. They are done. They know they only have this certain period of time to stop it. They tried it with this event. Did it succeed? Absolutely not. So what are they going to try to do next? They're going to try to manipulate the voting. They've already started, but this is going to fail too. Actually, Kamala Harris, she tweeted this out. Today, I'm announcing the Voter Safe Act. You know this is not a Voter Safe Act. It's always the opposite. It includes $2.5 billion to expand vote by mail and early voting, $2.5 billion to improve safety of polling places, no excuse mail-in absentee voting, at least 20 days of early voting. Voting is a fundamental right. We must protect it. She's right about that. It is a fundamental right, and we must protect it with voter ID. Remember, this is not going to get past anything. This bill will not make it because those who oppose it, what are they going to produce? The fraud. All the evidence that they've been collecting over time. And once that happens, this goes out the window. Now, Trump, he is now blocking the deep state everywhere. They handed him control with Defense Production Act. Remember when Clinton was out there and all these people saying he must sign this, he must do it? They wanted him to do an overreach. They wanted him to look like a dictator. So they forced these things onto him, and he said, yeah, I'll get to it, I'll sign it. He eventually does. But they pushed it all on him, and it didn't seem like he was out there trying to get it. The states signed the emergency declaration on their own. He declared a national emergency, and then eventually he did the Defense Production Act. This was timed, and he's blocking the exits for the deep state. And they can't bring anything into the country either. Why? Because the border, the wall. And he's removing the power structure with the enhanced narcotics mission that is ongoing right now. Now, the Department of Homeland Security has issued a waiver which will ensure expeditious construction of approximately 15 miles of new border wall, consisting of 5 non-contiguous segments in locations where no barriers currently exist within the U.S. border. This is the Rio Grande Valley sector in Stark County, Texas. And they're putting the wall up and shutting all that down. Now, what's very interesting with this event is that it's all starting to fall apart. And normally when these events start to fall apart, we start to see fact checkers come out and the social media sites, they're taking down, accounts and channels and demonetizing and doing everything they possibly can to shut people down. Now, Facebook, they've announced that they will start warning users if they liked, reacted, or connected on a harmful COVID-19 post that the company has found to be misinformation and removed, that they're going to take action. So in the next couple of weeks, they're rolling out this system that's going to debunk these messages by the World Health Organization. Well, that's very interesting in itself. But let's back up for a sec. What about all those pages, Twitter accounts, and everything else that these social media sites took down when people mentioned that this might have come from the lab? And they said, no, that's a fake story. It came from the wet market. Now we have U.S. intelligence, the UK, and other countries. They're all pointing the finger at the laboratory now, not the wet market. That somehow, some way, it came from there. And now they're investigating it. So all those individuals that were pointing to that, do they bring their accounts back up? Because now that's the truth. And the mainstream media that talked about the wet market, talked about how it came from this bat in the wet market from someone eating it. Shouldn't their accounts be taken down because they were peddling fake information? I mean, it only seems fair, right? But is that going to happen? No. So Trump tweeted this out about the WHO. Why did the WHO ignore an email from Taiwanese health officials in late December alerting them to the possibility that coronavirus could be transmitted between humans? Why did the WHO make several claims about the coronavirus that are either inaccurate or misleading in January and February as the virus spread globally? Why did the WHO wait as long as they did to take decisive action? Lan He-chen, Hoover Institution fellow. So why did they wait so long? Well, a lot of theories are out there. They do believe that they wanted this to spread because it's part of the deep state. Those players that were trying to push their agenda. That's why they were allowing it. So once again, they're going to get caught up in all of this. Now, Trump yesterday during his presser, he announced that there's going to be 3-phase approach to opening up America again. And here they are. Phase 1 is designed to mitigate the risk of resurgence and allow public venues such as arenas, theaters, restaurants to reopen only under certain social distancing conditions. However, all vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place and low-risk individuals should continue social distancing. Phase 2 only applies for regions with no evidence of a rebound. Visits to hospitals, nursing homes, and similar locations will remain prohibited. However, schools, daycare centers, camps can reopen. Non-essential travel can resume. Public venues can begin to ease social distancing restrictions. Phase 3 is also for states or areas with no evidence of a rebound, but has fewer restrictions than Phase 2. Even vulnerable individuals would have more freedom, but should still practice social distancing, while others are urged to avoid crowded environments. The president noted that benchmarks must be met at each phase. Now, the question is, why did he make these phases? Because he wants the governors to make the decision. He's not making it. It's the governors. The governors call the shots, he says. And today he tweeted out, liberate Minnesota, liberate Michigan, liberate Virginia, and save your great Second Amendment. It is under siege. Now, the deep state, they wanted Trump to do the following during the pandemic. Lock down the country like a dictator, call all the shots, tell the states what to do, and they wanted all the testing to be centralized with the federal government where they were getting the tests from the WHO. And we know they were faulty. What did Trump do? He did the opposite. He kept on saying it's the responsibility of the states, governors, and mayors to do the testing. That only certain people should be tested if they show signs of coronavirus. And the states, they should have been prepared. They should have been ready. Where did the money go? How come they don't have these ventilators? How come they don't have the supplies? Trump is doing everything in his power to prevent unnecessary federal intervention and overreach. He is now having states open up. Other states are going to feel the pressure, especially when they meet the requirements to open up. Why did he put the guidelines there? It's for accountability. If Trump and his administration look at the data and the state meets the criteria and they decide to stay closed for no reason, that governor is exposed. Why are you staying closed? You meet the criteria. What's the problem? And the longer they stay closed, the worse it gets for that governor. The people are going to see this, and the people are going to respond. Remember, this entire event was their plan to continue on with their 16-year plan. The deep state, their plan is a top-down approach of control. Trump is now pushing what the Founding Fathers wanted. The Founding Fathers wanted the control from the state, local level. Remember, the executive branch is like a secretary that's supposed to handle everything from the states. So it wasn't a top-down approach where you had the supreme leader on top calling all the shots and dictating what everyone should do. That's the globalist model. That's the central bank model. That's the deep state model. Look at the UN. Look at the WHO. Look at the World Trade Organization. They all have that model. Now, Trump, he tweeted this out about governors and Governor Cuomo. Governor Cuomo should spend more time doing and less time complaining. Get out there and get the job done. Stop talking. We built you thousands of hospital beds that you didn't need or use, gave large numbers of ventilators that you should have had, and help you with testing that you should have been doing. We have given New York far more money, help, and equipment than any other state by far. And these great men and women who did the job never hear you say thanks. Your numbers are not good. Less talk, more action. Letting them know, listen, get to work here. Do what you're supposed to be doing in your state. You're the leader of that state. Trump's not the leader of the state. The governor is. They're the ones who should be taking care of their state. And they're looking to the federal government to take care of it. That's not how it works. And this is why Trump is pointing this out every single time. Now, we know this entire coronavirus came out of China. And it seems that different numbers are now being produced from China that they've been holding back. We're also getting word that the coronavirus was much more widely spread, but a lot less deadly. Maybe it was just the flu or a derivative of the flu, and it wasn't as dangerous as everyone said it was going to be. And Trump, he tweeted this out about China. China has just announced a doubling in the number of the deaths from the invisible enemy. It is far higher than that and far higher than the U.S. Not even close. So I think Trump really knows a lot more than he's letting on, like he always does. And when everything is said and done, we're going to find out the real numbers, showing most likely that the deaths here in the U.S. are much, much lower than were reported. Because as we know, a lot of the deaths that are being reported, they're including almost everyone now. So they're skewing the numbers in that way. Let's get into post 3976 because Q dropped some more bread here. This is April 17, 2020. Gives us a Twitter link to Lotus Oak 2. This is Dr. Stephen Smith, an infectious disease specialist, on using hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin combo to treat COVID-19 patients. It's an absolute game changer, he says. I think this is the beginning of the end of the pandemic. I am very serious. Listen to this small little snippet of what he says about the game changer.
Correct?
It's a game changer. It's absolute game changer. I think these data go to really support the French data. Now you actually have an intra-cohort comparison saying that this regimen works.
Now, he's one of many doctors that have been treating patients with hydroxychloroquine, and they've seen incredible results from it. And we'll be getting into this a little bit more. And below this, it says worth tracking his work. Now, Q posted 3977, and this is a tweet from Trump. This is March 21st, 2020. And he said, hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin taken together have a real chance to be one of the biggest game changers in the history of medicine. The FDA has moved mountains. Thank you. Hopefully they will both. And then he says, in brackets, H works better than A. Now, this tweet continues, but what Q is showing us is that Trump mentioned this on the 21st of March. And the mainstream media, where they had countless doctors come on, say how bad it is, pharmaceutical companies and the rest, they were all bashing Trump at the time. Now, a lot of doctors have been using this, even Dr. Oz, and they're finding that the results are incredible. Now, the question is, why are they trying to stop this from coming out? Because I do believe that this drug and many others, they can cure a lot of illnesses that are created by viruses. And we need to go back to post 693 for this. And this post is from February 7, 2018. It says, when does Big Pharma make money? Curing or containing? Well, they don't cure anything. They contain it. Cancer, AIDS, etc. Mine will be blown by chain of command. Post 694. What if cures already exist? What about the billions public-private government provided to fund cure development? Post 695. How many top medical researchers found dead in the past 5 years? Why is this topic relevant now? Why does the U.S. taxpayer subsidize meds for the rest of the world? I think they get rid of certain individuals when they find the cure. They don't want these people around. So something happens. And I think they've been keeping this from the people. And with Trump letting this out, and he keeps saying that this has incredible possibilities, and I do believe the FDA is going to be approving it very, very soon. This is going to remove all fear, panic, and chaos once this is done. Let's move on to post 3978. Q gives us a picture of Trump, black and white, sitting there pointing his finger. It says, in reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. Now remember, every attempt to remove Trump and to get to the people has failed. Think about from the very beginning. Russian agents, Steele dossier, moving on to impeachment, obstruction. Everything that they have tried has completely failed. During this time, while they kept trying to remove Trump, he's been dismantling the deep state, removing their power, destroying their 16-year plan. The deep state thought with this latest event, this would be their chance to continue with this plan. And let's go back to post 2640. This is December 21st, 2018. What was the 16-year plan to destroy America? Well, Obama was going to try to remove as much rights as possible. Hillary Clinton was going to bring us into war. Why did Hussein install traitors at the highest level of our government? Remember, this is the infiltration from within. Think Department of Justice, think FBI, think CIA, think national security. Why did Hussein bring people into the White House who hate America and what we stand for? What years did Hillary Clinton serve as Secretary of State? What years did ISIS expand during her years? Why did Hussein put restrictions on U.S. military command, ability to attack targets at will? This was all done on purpose. They were setting it all up. And we went over ISIS yesterday. The deep state, they trained them, they used them, they were the paid mercenary army. Post 3979. Now yesterday, Q gave us a post that said, there was a YouTube link, I should say, with calming music and an object that was flowing around, and it says under it said, clear your mind, heal Q. Now, what's very interesting, I do believe that everyone should clear their mind and everyone should heal and relax and take a moment. But Anon pointed out that clear, the first letter C, under it, H for heal, and Q, when you rearrange it, it's HCQ. What is that? That's hydroxychloroquine. Heal with hydroxychloroquine. So it looks like Q is confirming this by putting this up there and highlighting it in red. Post 3980. This is a meme, and it has a picture of Obama. Next to it, it has his United States Secret Service code name, which is Renegade. Remember, he picked this name out for himself. Most of the time, the Secret Service gives you the name. He picked this out, and Renegade, the definition in this meme, it says, a person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. Synonyms: traitor, defector, deserter, turncoat, rebel, mutineer. The question is, why is Q continually giving us posts about Obama, ISIS, and everything like that? Why did Q decide to post this meme now? Is Q trying to tell us that this might be the first indictment that's going to be unsealed? Maybe, because I do believe it has to be someone big that people wouldn't expect. And I don't think a lot of people know about Soros. Yes, those people that have been listening to alternative media, listening to Q, but if you ask the everyday person, they really don't know about Soros. Do they even know who Strzok is? Some people might know Comey, maybe, but everyone knows Obama. Actually, everyone knows Clinton, too. So I do believe it has to be someone that the public wouldn't expect. And I'm not talking about the people that have been watching this and learning about this whole time. I'm talking about the sheep out there that really aren't following along. This would send a shockwave, either Clinton or Obama. It would definitely send a shockwave. Now, I want to go back to post 894 because this was back March 9th, 2018. And in this post, there's a meme of Trump pointing a finger at Obama, and it says, "When I'm done, it'll be like you were never here." Under this, it says Punisher. And then below that, it says, "When we're done, he'll claim Kenya citizenship as a way to escape." Now, we need to remember Pompeo has been making deals with Kenya right now, and we'll have to see how this plays out. But it seems that something now is leading up to Obama. And we know, because he just filled us in, and I'm talking about Q, where he gave an interview, his exit interview, and Q was saying knowingly. And there are a huge amount of references right now to Obama, letting us know that something is about to happen with this. Let's move on to post 3981. This is a Twitter link to W. Win Again. And it says, "Together we win. Where we go on, we go all." And we can see that Trump now, he has the control. The deep state, they have lost their control. They are no longer in a position of illusionary strength. Remember Sun Tzu, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. And I do believe Trump and those working with him have done this. They made the enemy feel like they had all the cards when they started this pandemic. But Trump, the Patriots, they knew the playbook. And Trump appeared weak. He appeared like, wow, this came out of nowhere. And during this process, the mainstream media, governors, and others, they thought this was their time. Look at Bill Gates, look at the rest. And what happened? They were exposed. Everyone can see it now. Everyone understands. And when I say everyone, I don't mean 100% of the people. The majority of the people now see it. They understand. Yes, there might be some out there that are saying, yes, we need papers, we need vaccines, yes, we need all this. But the majority of people are waking up to this. They're starting to realize, I don't like this life. I don't like not going out. I don't want papers so I can go to work. I don't want any of this. And now Trump is in a position of strength. The Patriots are in a position of strength. Remember, all the propaganda and everything the deep state pushes out there, the mainstream media, it cannot stand up to the truth, to the facts. This is where they're going to lose. Trump and the Patriots, they're getting ready to wield the truth. And once they wield the truth, the mainstream media and the rest are going to be in trouble. This is why Trump has been hammering at the mainstream media, showing that they're fake news and continually pushing them in different corners. He wants the people to see this. Remember, he removed a lot of the blocks. The mainstream media, this, I do believe, is one of the last blocks that he needs to continually hit down so people can see it. Because once the truth comes out, the mainstream media, yeah, they might try to spin it. But once they start to produce other evidence that they can't spin, this is where they're going to fail. And that block is going to be removed.